My name is Renee. Sitting in this silent conference room, the weight of the moment bears down on me like a ton of bricks. The will reading is over, and the room is filled with a tense silence that's only broken by the occasional sniffle from my mother. Across the table, my parents, my older brother Jake, and my younger sister Lily sit in stunned silence, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. The attorney, Miss Thompson, slides the will across the table towards me, her eyes filled with sympathy. "He wrote you a letter," she says softly. I take the letter with trembling hands, my heart pounding in my chest. As I read the words, memories of my uncle, Mr. Henry, flood back. It all started when I was 13 years old. I was the middle child in a family that seemed to have forgotten I existed. My older brother Jake, who was 18 at the time, was the star athlete, the pride of the family. He was always out on the field, winning championships and getting all the attention. My younger sister Lily, who was 10, was the baby, the cute one who could do no wrong. She was always getting spoiled with toys and treats. I, on the other hand, was just the middle child, the one who didn't need anything. I was used to being overlooked, to being the afterthought. But that summer, things changed. It was a hot July day, and I came home from a sleepover at my friend Emily's house, looking forward to a normal day. Instead, I found a manila envelope on the kitchen counter with my name on it, written in my father's handwriting. Inside the envelope was $500 in 20s, a key to our neighbor Mrs. Jenkins' back door, and a note that said, "Renee, we're in Florida until September. Mrs. J said you can stay there if it gets weird. There's stuff in the freezer. Don't call unless it's an emergency." That was it. No goodbye, no I love you, no mention of my upcoming birthday. I stood there in the kitchen, the envelope in my hand, feeling like my world had just come crashing down around me. I couldn't believe they had left me behind, like I was some kind of burden. I felt so alone, so abandoned. The first few days, I told myself it was a misunderstanding. I made myself dinner, watched TV, and waited for my parents to call. But they never did. On the fourth day, I ran out of food and had to go to Mrs. Jenkins' house. She gave me a pitying look and made me a hot meal. That's when I realized that they weren't coming back. They had chosen to leave me. It was on the sixth day that Mr. Henry showed up. I was sitting on the front porch, reading a book, trying to pretend that everything was okay, when a black sedan pulled into the driveway. A tall, distinguished man with gray hair and a kind face got out of the car. He had my mother's eyes. "Renee," he said, his voice gentle. "You probably don't remember me. I'm your Uncle Henry." I did remember him, sort of. There was a time when he used to come to our house for holidays, but then he stopped. My mother used to say that he was too opinionated, that he didn't understand our family. But now, here he was, standing in front of me, looking like a ray of hope in the darkness. "Where are your parents?" he asked. "Florida," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "And you're here because?" "Because they didn't take me," I said, the tears starting to well up in my eyes. He didn't say anything for a long time. He just stood there, looking at me, his eyes filled with sadness. Then he sat down on the porch step beside me and put his arm around me. "It's going to be okay, Renee," he said. "I'm here now." He told me that my school had called him because I hadn't been showing up for the summer school program. They had his name as a backup contact, and he had driven all the way from his home in New York to see me. He said that he was going to take me with him, that I was going to stay with him for the rest of the summer. I was hesitant at first. I didn't want to leave my home, even though it didn't feel like home anymore. But then I looked into his eyes, and I saw the kindness and the love there, and I knew that I could trust him. So I packed a bag, and we drove away. His house was a beautiful old mansion in the suburbs of New York. It was filled with antiques and paintings, and it had a huge garden in the back. The first thing I noticed when we walked in was that it was quiet. Not empty quiet, but a peaceful, lived-in quiet. It felt like a home. He showed me to a guest room with a four-poster bed and a view of the garden. The sheets smelled like lavender, and there was a soft, fluffy pillow on the bed. I stood there in the doorway, feeling like I didn't belong. "Don't be afraid, Renee," he said. "This is your home now. Make yourself comfortable." I sat down on the edge of the bed, my hands folded in my lap. He sat down beside me and looked at me. "You know, Renee, you're not a burden. You're a wonderful, smart, and kind girl. And I'm going to take care of you." I looked up at him, the tears streaming down my face. "Thank you," I said. That night, he made me a delicious dinner and we sat at the table and talked. He told me about his life, about his work as an architect, and about the woman he had loved and lost. He was so open and honest with me, and I felt like I could tell him anything. Over the next few weeks, I settled into my new life with Mr. Henry. He taught me so many things, about architecture, about art, about life. He also taught me about money. He gave me a weekly allowance and taught me how to budget. He said that it was important to save for the future, but also to enjoy the present. He also taught me about people. He said that there were two kinds of people in the world, those who took more than they gave, and those who gave more than they took. He said that I should always try to be the second kind of person, and that I should be careful of the first kind. As the summer went on, I started to feel like a part of his family. I made friends at the local school, and I started to participate in extracurricular activities. I even joined the debate team, and I won my first competition. Mr. Henry was so proud of me. But then, one day, everything changed. Mr. Henry started to feel tired and weak. He went to the doctor, and they found out that he had a heart condition. He had to have surgery, and he was in the hospital for a long time. I was so worried about him. I visited him every day, and I brought him books and flowers. He always tried to be brave, to make me laugh, but I could see the pain in his eyes. After the surgery, he came home, but he was still very weak. He had to take it easy, and he couldn't work anymore. But he didn't let that stop him. He still spent time with me, teaching me, and loving me. Over the next few years, I grew up with Mr. Henry. I went to high school, and I graduated with honors. I got into a good college, and I studied architecture, just like him. He was always there for me, supporting me, and encouraging me. But then, one day, he got sick again. This time, it was worse. The doctors said that there was nothing they could do. He was going to die. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that he was going to leave me. I spent every moment with him, holding his hand, and telling him how much I loved him. He died on a cold winter day, surrounded by his family and friends. I was there, holding his hand, when he took his last breath. I felt like a part of me had died with him. But then, a few weeks later, I received a letter from his lawyer. It was the will. And when I read it, I couldn't believe my eyes. He had left me everything. His house, his money, his business. Everything. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I had never expected this. I had always thought that he would leave his estate to his other relatives, not to me. But then I remembered all the things he had taught me, about kindness, about generosity, about love. And I knew that this was his way of showing me how much he loved me, how much he believed in me. So here I am, sitting in this conference room, looking at my family's shocked faces. They thought that they were going to inherit his estate, that they were going to get rich. But they were wrong. He had chosen me. He had chosen to give me a new life, a life filled with love and opportunity. I look at my mother, and I see the pain and the regret in her eyes. I know that she wishes she had treated me better, that she wishes she had been a better mother. But it's too late now. I stand up, and I look at them all. You weren't his family, I say, my voice strong and steady. You were the people who left a 13-year-old girl alone in a house with nothing. You were the people who didn't care about her. You don't get to walk in here and call yourselves family just because there's money on the table. Family is who shows up. He showed up. You didn't. I turn and walk out of the room, leaving them behind. I know that they will never understand, that they will never know what it means to be loved and chosen. But I do. And I will always be grateful to Mr. Henry for giving me that gift. I drive back to his house, the house that is now mine. I sit on the couch, and I put my feet up, just like he used to tell me to do. I look around the room, and I see his paintings, his books, his memories. And I know that he will always be with me, in my heart and in my soul. A month later, I start the Henry Foundation. It's a foundation that gives scholarships to middle children who want to study architecture. It's my way of paying it forward, of helping other kids who have been overlooked and forgotten. I know that life will never be easy. There will be challenges and obstacles along the way. But I also know that I have the strength and the courage to face them. Because I have Mr. Henry's love and his teachings to guide me. And as I sit here, looking out at the garden, I think about that little girl on the porch, the girl who was so alone and so afraid. I wish I could go back and tell her that everything was going to be okay, that she was going to be loved and chosen. But I know that she had to go through that pain, that she had to learn the hard way. And now, as I look back on my life, I realize that every door that closed on me as a child opened a different one. The door my parents shut behind them when they drove to Florida was the same door Mr. Henry walked through. And that wasn't fate. That was the simple, almost mathematical truth that what we do to people ripples outward, and the ripples come back. I keep my feet up on the couch, and I write down my thoughts in my journal. I know that there will be more chapters in my life, more stories to tell. And I'm ready to write them, one page at a time.